fishes, Courtney Mermaid here, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I am going to be teaching you guys how to make one of these Swimmable Mermaid hair clip accessories. So this is actually the first one I have made in this style. I typically use hot glue actually to make my hair clips, but with this one I decided to try and make it as swimmable as possible, which it is. I have tested it in the water. I will include some footage. And it actually held together like nothing came apart, and I was a bit rough on it, and it stayed together really well. So this is using E6000 glue versus hot glue, and I find that this worked a lot better. You're going to need something for the felt backer, so just scrap felt. I was actually really fortunate, and we're gonna give a shout out to a new channel. Mermaid Kim's husband has a YouTube channel. I will leave a link to it in the description box below. But he had some felt and totally hooked me up, so I was able to reuse and repurpose some felt for mermaid hair clip. I also had greenery just kicking around from decor when I was a kid, so repurposing. Same with the pearls and stuff. I used to make mermaid necklaces with those, and these were some that I had left over. And the same thing goes with the netting. So the kind of clip that I chose to use for this one is different than the other hair clips I've made in the past, where I used just sort of like, what would you call them, a crocodile kind of hair clip where it just pinches the hair. This one is actually a locking hair clip, and you can see I actually fed it through the felt to sort of secure it, and everything's like double and triple glued in place. But yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys how I did it. And if you have any questions or anything, be sure to leave them in the comment section down below. And yeah, let's just dive right into it. Alright, so I got started by placing a piece of parchment paper down on my table so that I would not get glue and good stuff everywhere. Next I take my shell and I decided to trace it out onto this piece of felt. I had to make sure my pen was still gonna work. This just gives you a bit of an idea. I'm sorry for my bird chirping in the background. She thinks I'm talking to her, so yes, bird, we hear you. And just trace the shell out onto your felt. Get a nice good outline as best as you can, because you can still trim around it, which you'll see me do once I'm actually attaching it to the shell. So now I'm just going around, trimming it out. This whole process takes a bit of patience. It can be a little bit finicky and frustrating, but it's important that you get it to be a decent match. Because this is what's going to be sitting against your head, and you don't want like sharp edges poking you in the head. You know what I'm saying? Right in the ear. It's perfect. And now you can see I'm going around with my scissors. I'm being very careful not to accidentally like cut the shell or anything, especially with my nice sewing scissors. There we go. Just going in, getting them corners all nice and trimmed. This is probably the most time-consuming part of it, the sort of prep to get everything going so that you don't have to, you know, it's good to have a good foundation to start, I think. Next, I cut the two little holes so that I can feed the, you can see I'm feeding it through now because I cut them. Feed the hair clip through, I mean. Make sure everything closes still and line it up. Just like that. Try to plan things out before you actually start gluing everything, just to make sure that you're kind of happy with how things are going to look. I did it before I started filming, so that's why you didn't see me do that. And I'm having quite the time getting the lid off of my E6000 glue. Oh, it was such a nightmare. And then you just sort of start laying it down. Now, it doesn't have to be exact, because you're going to kind of go over this with other layers of glue when you start gluing it all together. So don't fret if it's like a little bit missing here, a little bit missing there. It's not going to be a big deal, because you're going to glue that whole shell down, which is going to reinforce like everything all over again. So don't panic. It's not an exact science. I'm using a pin just to kind of press it down. You don't really want to get this glue
on yourself, so I didn't realize it had been dripping, but I have a tray that I actually keep it on to avoid that kind of nonsense. Keep a window open and a fan going. Wear a mask if you're more concerned. This glue stinks. Make sure your pets aren't around. If you're somebody with a bird, please make sure you close your bird off so that they don't have the fumes coming in, because this stuff is not good and it stinks and it will really harm your bird's respiratory system. There we go. So I've got that all nice and laid out. I'm going in, I'm trimming the stems. I take off any excess that I don't really feel is necessary. And then I just throw some glue on there. And then squeeze that guy on. It can be a messy process and it can be a bit time consuming, and you do need some patience, as I said. It's a little bit like the more you do it, the easier it gets. I've made a lot of hair clips. This is the first one I've ever tried where I've used E6000 glue, which was a really different experience because this stuff doesn't dry as fast as hot glue does, which is why I used to use hot glues, because I just wanted it to be done quickly and the hot glue worked for the most part. But seeing now how sturdy these hair clips are when you use E6000 glue, I think moving forward I'm just going to use E6000 glue, because it was worth the time that I put into it. Knowing when this was in my hair that it wasn't going to come apart was really nice. I felt quite secure about that. So now you can see I'm a little bit off camera, unfortunately. These are the first few DIY videos I'm doing like this, so I'm learning how and where to film. But I'm putting glue all over the back side. I really covered it. You can't see it, unfortunately, but I will get better at this, I swear, guys. It's a learning curve, okay? So you can see now I'm squishing it all together, pressing it in all nice. Really trying to secure it. I ended up placing this thing underneath a couple of different heavy coasters and weights to so that it would stay, because obviously it's E6000 glue. It's not instantaneous like drying here, you know what I'm saying? So after it dried a little bit, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna throw in some pearls, you know? And this was the fun and kind of sketchy part, because the pearls, like the glue, doesn't dry right away. So the pearls move around, which is good and bad. Like there was one that I didn't notice had actually sort of rolled onto its side, so the little hole for the bead shows, and it kind of bugs me, but I'll pay more attention to that moving forward, obviously. This was my first attempt, so here we are. You know what I mean? But what is kind of cool, and you'll see it a little bit later on, is I actually put more than just the one dot at a time, and I kind of gob a couple of different pearls on in the same space, and it actually gave it kind of this cool clustered look, which I really liked. So you can see now I'm doing it. Now I'm just like, I put a bunch of glue down and I am just laying these guys in there, and I'm actually quite happy with how this turned out. Like at the time I'm filming this, the audio, which you aren't listening to, I'm actually getting super excited about it. I'm like, oh, look at this, so pretty. But yeah, this is almost really all there is to it. Just patience, waiting and letting things dry, let it take its time, because it's gonna. And just using a pin to kind of maneuver and place things nicely into the space. You have a little bit of leeway for how long this will take to dry, so you can be a little bit finicky, you know? And you aren't really limited to doing just what you see me do here. I mean, you could have painted the shell first, you could paint over the beads, you could add all kinds of sequins and extra doodads and things. It doesn't just have to be this, but this is how I chose to design it. Nice and simple. And here it is. I think it turned out pretty nice. I feel like, yeah, it's a natural look. Here's the back. I'm pretty happy with it overall.
Alright, and that is how you make a Swimmable Mermaid hair clip. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please feel free to give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to join the pod and hit the bell notification as well so you don't miss any of my mermaid adventures. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video. Happy swimming! Bye!